Shalom. Today I am going to share with you something that Jewish families have quietly guarded and practiced in their homes for over 3,000 years. There is an ancient Hebrew psalm, a sacred declaration rooted deep in Torah wisdom, that Jewish families have read for centuries when financial hardship knocked at their door. A psalm that has been passed down quietly from generation to generation, read in a very specific way, at a very specific time, with a very specific intention. And today I am going to share every single detail of this practice with you, because I believe you are hearing this right now for a reason. Welcome to Wealth Secrets with Rabbi, where we uncover the hidden Torah teachings, Kabbalah wisdom, and ancient Jewish prosperity secrets that have guided Jewish families to abundance for thousands of years. But before I share this sacred practice, let me ask you something honest. Have you ever had a season in your life where no matter what you did, the money simply would not stay? You worked hard, you woke up early, you did everything right, but at the end of the month there was nothing left. The bills consumed everything. An unexpected expense appeared out of nowhere. Something always took it away. Maybe you have prayed about it. Maybe you have asked God why. Why does it feel like I'm running on a treadmill? Why does it feel like the harder I push, the further behind I fall? If that sounds like your life right now, I need you to understand something deeply important. You are not lazy. You are not being punished. You are not cursed. But there is something happening in the spiritual atmosphere of your home that is blocking what is already meant to reach you. In Jewish tradition, we have a sacred concept called parnasa. Parnasa means sustenance, livelihood, the divine flow of provision that God sends to every living soul. The Talmud teaches something remarkable about this. It says that a person's provision for the entire year is determined and allocated from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. That means the financial blessing is already assigned to you. It is already written in heaven with your name on it. But here is the truth that changes everything. Just because something is assigned to you does not automatically mean it can reach you. Think of it like water flowing through a pipe. The source is completely full. The water is there waiting to flow. But if the pipe is blocked, nothing comes through. You turn the faucet and all you receive is a trickle. That is what happens spiritually when financial struggle lingers in a home. The provision exists, the blessing is real, but something is blocking the channel between heaven and your life. And for over 3,000 years, Jewish families have known exactly how to unblock that channel. Not through complicated, expensive rituals, not through secret ceremonies, through sacred words, through a specific psalm, read in a specific way, at a specific time, with a specific intention. Let me share with you the story that opened my own eyes to this ancient practice. The story of Miriam. There was a woman in my community named Miriam, a widow. Her husband had passed away suddenly, leaving her with 3 children and a small apartment in a neighborhood that was becoming more expensive every single month. Miriam worked 2 jobs. She cleaned homes during the day and did bookkeeping for a small business in the evenings. And still, every single month, she fell short. She told me once, "Rabbi, I feel like there is a hole in my pocket. I put money in and it disappears. I do not spend on anything extra. I do not buy luxuries, but the money vanishes before my eyes." One evening, Miriam visited an elderly woman from our synagogue. This woman was in her 90s. She had survived unimaginable hardship and poverty. And yet in her old age, she lived with quiet dignity. Not wealthy by the world's standards, but she never lacked. She always had enough, and she always had a little extra to give to others. Miriam asked her, "What is your secret?" The old woman smiled gently and said, "Every morning before the sun rises, I read Psalm 23, but not the way most people read it. I do not read it as poetry. I do not read it as a funeral verse. I read it as a declaration. I read it as if God himself is standing in my kitchen, and I am reminding him and reminding myself of his eternal promise to provide." Now you might be thinking, Psalm 23? Everyone knows Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. What could possibly be special about that? And that is precisely the problem. Familiarity has stolen the power of this psalm from most people. They hear it at funerals. They see it on greeting cards. They encounter it in movies. And they have completely lost the ability to hear what it is actually declaring. Let me show you what Jewish tradition truly hears when we read this sacred psalm. The first sacred key, the declaration of divine provision. The very first line of Psalm 23 in Hebrew is Adonai roi lo exar. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. That Hebrew word exar does not simply mean want. It means lack. It means deficiency. It means poverty itself. David, the shepherd boy who became the king of Israel, is not writing a gentle, comforting poem. He is making a legal declaration before the courts of heaven. He is declaring, because God is my shepherd, poverty has no legal right to exist in my life. Do you understand how extraordinarily powerful that is? This is not wishful thinking. This is not positive self-talk. This is a man who once lived as a fugitive hiding in caves with nothing, declaring a spiritual principle that he lived by every single day. A principle that carried him from a shepherd field to a royal throne. And here is the ancient practice that the old woman shared with Miriam. You do not simply read this psalm silently to yourself. You speak it out loud in your home, standing on your feet, before the sun rises. Why before sunrise? Because the Zohar, the great book of Kabbalistic wisdom, teaches that the final hours of darkness before the dawn are when the heavens are most open and most receptive to the sincere words of those who seek God. It is the sacred hour when divine attention leans in to listen. Miriam began this practice the very next morning. She woke before the sun. She stood in her small kitchen, and she read Psalm 23 out loud, not shouting, not whispering, but speaking every word with her full voice, as if she genuinely meant every single word. She told me that within that very first morning, something shifted in her spirit. A heaviness she had been carrying for years began to lift. And within that first week, a client she had lost months earlier called her completely out of nowhere, offering to pay her double what she had previously earned. Within 1 month, her entire financial situation had transformed. Was this magic? Absolutely not. In Jewish tradition, we do not believe in magic. We believe in alignment. When you speak sacred Torah words with genuine faith and sincere intention, you align yourself with the frequency of divine provision. You unblock the pipe. You remove the spiritual barrier. And what was always assigned to you, what was always meant to reach you, can finally flow through. The second sacred key, the table prepared before you. Now pay very close attention to what I am about to share, because there is a specific verse hidden inside Psalm 23 that holds the master key to removing financial blockage. And most people rush right past it without understanding what it is actually declaring. The verse is this: You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Most people hear this and immediately think about protection from human enemies, people who dislike them or work against them. But the rabbi sees something completely different hidden within this verse. In Kabbalistic teaching, our ancient sages spoke of spiritual forces that oppose a person's parnasa, their divine flow of provision. Forces that stand before the heavenly court and argue that the blessing should be withheld. That point to our mistakes, our doubts, and our moments of lost faith, and make a case against our receiving what God has already allocated. But here is what is truly extraordinary about this verse. David does not say, You remove my enemies and then give me a table. He says, You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. The opposition does not disappear. The accusations do not stop. The challenges do not vanish. And yet, God sets the table anyway, right there, right in the middle of everything that opposes you. Do you understand what this means for your life right now? It means you do not have to wait until your problems are completely solved before you receive your provision. It means God can prosper you in the middle of your difficulty. It means the bills on your table, the debt on your record, the financial stress keeping you awake at 3 a.m., None of it disqualifies you from receiving what God has already prepared for you. When you reach this verse as you read Psalm 23, pause, close your eyes, and picture a table being set in your home. A beautiful, abundant table covered with everything you need. Financial provision, unexpected opportunities, help arriving from places you never anticipated, resources flowing toward you from directions you could not have predicted. Picture it all being laid out before you, while every force that has ever opposed your prosperity is forced to watch helplessly. Then declare out loud, "This table is mine. It was prepared for me by God Himself, and no force in heaven or on earth has the authority to take it from me." This is not positive thinking. This is not modern manifestation teaching. This is an ancient Jewish prosperity declaration rooted in over 3,000 years of Torah wisdom and Kabbalistic practice. The third sacred key, opening the channel through giving. Now I need to share with you the third and most critical part of this practice, because everything I have shared so far will only reach its full power when you understand this final principle. And honestly, this is the part that even many deeply religious people get completely wrong. The Zohar contains a passage that stopped me completely when I first encountered it years ago. It teaches that the flow of divine blessing works like a river. If the river has nowhere to pour into, it stops flowing. It backs up. It stagnates. But when the river has an open outlet, it flows faster, stronger, and more abundantly than ever before. What does this mean in practical terms? It means the secret to receiving more is giving first. Not giving when you feel financially comfortable. Not giving after you see the provision arrive. Giving before. Giving when it does not logically make sense. Giving when your own resources feel limited. In Hebrew, the word for this act is tzedakah, which we commonly translate as charity. But tzedakah does not actually mean charity. It comes from the Hebrew root tzedek, meaning justice and righteousness. When you give tzedakah, you are not doing something optional and generous. You are performing an act of divine justice. You are restoring the proper and righteous flow of wealth through God's creation. The Talmud records the story of a man named Binyamin Hatzadik, Benjamin the Righteous, who was responsible for distributing charity funds in his community. During a severe drought, a widow came to him with her 7 hungry children. The community fund was completely empty. There was nothing left to give. But Binyamin could not turn this mother and her children away, so he gave them everything he personally had, every last coin. He emptied himself completely for this family in need. Shortly after, Binyamin became gravely ill. He was near death. The Talmud says that the angel spoke before God and declared, "Master of the universe, you have taught that whoever saves a single life is as if they saved an entire world." Binyamin saved a widow and 7 children, 8 lives, 8 worlds. Should such a man die young? And immediately his decree was changed. He was granted 22 additional years of life. And the Talmud does not just say he was healed. It says his entire financial situation was transformed. He did not merely survive, he prospered abundantly. Because when he emptied himself completely, he created the widest possible channel for God to pour back into his life. This is the principle that makes Psalm 23 work at its deepest and most powerful level. When David declares, "My cup runs over," he is not talking about barely having enough. He is talking about having so much that it overflows and spills out to bless others. And the cup only overflows when you have first poured out for someone else. The complete ancient practice. Here is the complete sacred practice exactly as Jewish families have performed it for generations. Follow each step carefully. Step 1. The evening before. Before you sleep tonight, take a small amount of money, any amount, no matter how small. Set it aside in an envelope or a small box. This is your tzedakah, your act of opening the channel. When you set it aside, declare out loud, "I am opening the channel. I am making room for what God has already prepared and allocated for me." Step 2. Rise before sunrise. Wake up before the sun